It's a case that shook East Texas 33 years ago, the disappearance of Kelly Wilson. And all these years later, it still has so many baffled. In this edition of Unsolved East Texas, our Jesus Martinez spoke with Kelly's dad as he reflects on the impact her disappearance left on him, as well as a podcaster who took it upon himself to find out what really could have happened to Kelly Wilson.
Besides a flagpole on the square blowing on a brisk winter day, Gilmer is a quiet town.
Gilmer Buckeye football team.
Except during football season. But back in 1992, the case of a missing teen turned the town upside down, with clashing investigations, conspiracy theories, all surrounding the disappearance of Kelly Wilson.
Yeah, so Kelly was a 17-year-old senior at Gilmer High School. She had a part-time job at the movie rental shop on the courthouse square.
Wes Ferguson is the creator of the podcast Devil Town, where he goes in depth on what could have happened to Kelly Wilson 33 years ago.
But then they realized pretty quickly within a few days that this was something far more serious.
33 years ago, Kelly Wilson walked out of this building behind me, what used to be a video store at the time, now turned into an office space, and this is one of the last places anyone saw her.
She left work on a Sunday night, January 5th, 1992, said goodbye to the store manager, Joe Henry, and was just never seen again.
Kelly was going to make a deposit from the store at a nearby bank. That same night, grainy surveillance video shows someone depositing cash, although investigators aren't sure if that was Kelly. The last person to have ever seen her was Joe Henry, the video store manager.
He said that they had, she was cleaning up the store, settling up the accounts, and then they went out the back door, and he said, "See ya," and that was the last time he saw her.
In a 2018 interview with CBS 19, Henry said he got a call from Kelly's mother that next morning.
And asked if she had said about going somewhere the night before. Well, she was supposed to go to a friend's house.
Apparently, Kelly's mom had called down and talked to my wife and told her that Kelly had not come home the night before. And she was trying to get a hold of me at work, and so that's how I found out.
Robbie Wilson, Kelly's dad, lived in Louisiana at the time of Kelly's disappearance. Kelly had moved to Gilmer with her mom before that. Can you share a little bit more about who Kelly is or how she was as a kid, growing up as a teenager as well?
Yeah, Kelly was a typical young lady back in that time. She was full of life, very, very energetic.
He thought Kelly was on his way to move to Louisiana with him.
Because that was the plan anyway. At least that's what she had told me.
To this day, not knowing where his daughter is agonizing. How frustrating is that, knowing that there's no evidence, no clue as to where she could have gone?
It's hard to describe. That's what I live with. The lack of closure, not knowing.
And it's that unknown that brought turmoil to this Upshur County town 3 decades ago. Talk about a little bit some of those twists and turns. I know there were talks of cannibalism, devil worship, family of murderers, and so forth.
The investigators of that other case were convinced that there was a family of devil worshipers living outside of Gilmer on Cherokee Trace, and that they were kidnapping, cannibalizing babies and young girls and sacrificing them to the devil out in the woods behind their house.
This investigation was going on at the same time the search for Kelly Wilson was happening, 2 different cases that overlapped.
You know, it was really about these 2 rival investigations and then just completely disagreeing in the direction of those investigations. Both Sergeant Brown and the other investigators have said that they were both saying, if you don't stay out of my case, I'm going to destroy you.
Gilmer Police Sergeant James Brown was the lead investigator in Kelly Wilson's case. 2 years later, he and 7 others were indicted by a grand jury for Kelly's murder. They say it happened during satanic rituals. However, the lack of evidence would force the Attorney General's office to dismiss all murder charges against Brown and the others. We were able to reach Sergeant Brown, but he declined to interview with us.
I think it did a lot to distract the police and the authorities from, what actually might have happened to Kelly.
Do you still hope that you'll be able to see Kelly in person down the road?
I do, yeah.
For you, what does closure mean?
Just somehow knowing what happened to her, and I will eventually. You know, I'll meet my America one of these days, and I'll hope to see her again. So
It's time for someone to come forward and say what they know. And if anybody's been sitting on a guilty conscience for 3 decades, it's time for that person to come through and get that off their chest.
In Gilmer, Jesus Martinez, CBS 19.
To this day, law enforcement says they have no new leads. If you have any information on where Kelly could be, please contact the Gilmer Police Department.